One of the exciting aspects of modern software engineering is the ability to use AI pair programmers to help you out when you're building a project or even to study for a certification exam. Let's go ahead and take a look at this BARD prompt here. First up, I'm going to say, what are three key aspects of security on the GCP cloud platform? All right, let's say I was studying for a certification exam for the Google Cloud Platform. I could go ahead and ask Bard here, what are the key aspects? And I can see here data security, identity, and access management, and compliance. In addition, there's some other features, right? So I've got some great ideas here for how to study. So this is really from a knowledge standpoint. But what if I wanted to do some coding, right? So if I wanted to go through here and say, build a Python Colab notebook that imports a sample data set from pandas and charts it. Let's see what happens. At this point, I can actually get a starter kit available from Bard here. And look at this, I even have the code as well. And I can even say export this code as well. So notice that this says import pandas as PD, import matplot lib.pyplot as PLT. So I've got a nice little snippet here. And then if I want to go through it, I can actually export this response directly into a notebook. Let's go ahead and try this. Let's say export to Colab notebook. And what's nice about this is that I can actually have really the best of both worlds is this pair programming assistance from Bard plus the ability to actually dive into an example notebook. So let's go ahead and change the runtime here. We'll go ahead and say change runtime type. And if I wanted to, let's give it a little bit of RAM here. And from here, I can actually go ahead and run this example. So this is a great way to just very quickly get up to speed with a particular library as you can actually go through here and use this as an example. Now, what do we have here? We have one issue. It says, this thing is not actually found. So sometimes you'll see errors like this. So how do you get around a problem like this? Well, let's go ahead and debug it. So if I go here and actually open this up in a new tab, we should be able to see that, in fact, yeah, that's a problem. So what I could do is use the best of both worlds here, and I could just say, iris data set pandas, and I could just do a search for it, and we could see here that there's a call here that we could actually take a look at that will give us the load iris data set. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to our prompt, and I'm going to say, let's see, change the code to use this instead, right? So this is an important part of being able to iterate is to understand how to be okay with the fact that there's an issue. And there we go. Now we just go ahead and we say export response. And now we'll just go ahead and open up a new notebook. Here we go. And we can go ahead and say open Colab. And from here, we've got a slightly different view now, right? We can just say from scikit-learn datasets import load iris. And let's go again and change the runtime, maybe get it high RAM here, save it, and let's go ahead and run this. So it's important to get the idea, but you can't necessarily count on the fact that the code will be perfect. You have to have some ability to kind of go back and forth here. So now we have one more issue, and we see that this particular column may have a problem. So what could we do to fix this? Well, pretty easy. What we could do actually is debug this by diving into the code. Let's go ahead and do a code cell here next. And what I would do typically is see if I can actually load anything. So let's go ahead and try to load this first. So let's go ahead and pull this part out, paste this in, run it. So that works. Now let's add a code cell below here. And let's actually just look at iris.data. And we see there that, in fact, it does appear that we've got something working, which is nice. And so I can go ahead and get rid of this one. And so we know the iris data columns. Now let's see if we have iris.feature names. That could be the issue, is that we actually don't have the iris feature names. So let's go ahead and try iris.feature And what do we have here? We do have feature names. There we go. So we have sepal length. So the issue is that the feature names are a little bit different than the names that we're expecting, which is pretty easy to fix, right? So I just go through here and I can actually change the sepal length to this new sepal length, and I can change the sepal width here to the new sepal width, which is right here. And then if we go back here, we should be able to get this one to work. There we go. And now we see that the plot works. So it does take a little bit of patience to be able to use a pair programming assistance at the same time as you're coding. But in this particular example, we were able to power through it and able to get quite a bit of traction by, really treating the pair programming tool like a coworker and getting into the iris data set and doing a visualization. Amazon Code Whisperer is a AI pair programming tool that helps you build code programmatically. Let's take a look at some of the documentation here. You can see that it's an AI coding companion and it integrates with an IDE. So it works both with Visual Studio Code, which is an excellent way to use it, or it also works alongside the AWS Cloud 9 environment. Let's go ahead and take a look at Cloud 9 here first. If we look at Cloud 9, one of the things I like about it is it's easy to spin up new disposable environments to test out. If I go through here and I say create environment, and we go ahead and say test, I could go through here and pick from lots of different options, including some beefy machines. For example, if I went through here, there's a huge list of really large machines, including raw metal machines, if I wanted to play around with it. And I also can build something on Amazon Linux, which also helps me make sure that the code I'm writing is going to work well for the Amazon deploy environment. You can also set timeouts here, which is a great way to configure, and you even can SSH inside and control it that way, or even put it into a VPC. So I already got one running here that I have some AWS Code Whisperer integration already going. Let's go ahead and take a look at how that works. So if we go to this icon here, AWS, you can see here that I have some information here about AWS. I could control different services. I also could go to developer tools. And here where I've got the Code Whisperer open here, you can see here that it's actually actively serving out the instructions for my code. Let's go ahead and go over to this particular example. And notice with Rust here, I can actually put a comment. In this case, I said, build a function that prints 1 plus 1. And it was able to actually do that. And then I was able to add this in. So let's go ahead and find out where that's at. This is in hello. So let's go ahead and cd into hello. And from here, if I just type in cargo run, you'll see that I'm able to actually use those suggestions and change my code. One of the things to point out here is that in order to get Rust working on Cloud 9, what you'll need to do is run this rust up command. If we go through here, we say run the following on screen. You just copy it, paste it in, very easy to get working here. And it's going to say, proceed with the installation, customize installation, cancel. I've already done this, so I'm just going to cancel it. I'm not going to need to do it again. Now, in terms of building more stuff, let's go ahead and build it from the very beginning here. Let's go ahead and cd up a directory. Let's type in cargo, and we'll call this CW project, and this will be a Code Whisperer project. And we'll go ahead and say new to create that. Now I'll go ahead and cd into this. And from here, if I go and I look at the file that's created inside of source here, this main.rs, this is the file that's got all of the intro level things inside of it. So it gives us a hello world. Let's go ahead and do cargo run. This will go ahead and run it. Now let's go ahead and use Code Whisperer now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, build a calculator. So let's go ahead and build a multi-line Rust comment first, which is a great way to, get things cooking originally. We'll say, this is a script that acts as a basic calculator. So this is setting up the context for our program. This is really important when you're building something with an AI pair programming tool, is set up the context first. Now, what I'll do is I'll start to guide it. So we can go ahead and say, use standard IO. Great. Let's go ahead and write. Great. And it's going to go ahead and give us suggestions. Now, we don't have to take these suggestions if we don't want to. In fact, in this case, I'm not going to. I'm just going to go ahead and put my own suggestions. I'm going to say, create an add function. Right, so it's up to you to really guide this thing just like you would with a coworker. And here we go. This looks pretty good. And now it's going to go ahead and return the final bits of this particular function. Perfect. Now, what I can do from here is I also can incorporate it, and we can say, add two numbers, and we can go ahead and do this. We can say let results. Notice with Rust here, I'm actually defining a variable that's going to be used for my results. And then I'm going to go ahead and print this out. And notice it's going to do a substitution here to get this working. So now if I go ahead and I say cargo run, we can go ahead and do it. And it looks like there's a problem. And it says, undisclosed delimiter. In fact, that is a problem. This is one of the nice things about using a very powerful language like Rust is with a conjunction of Code Whisper, it's really the best of both worlds. The compiler tells me what's wrong, and then the AI pair programming tool helps me build out the code. What's it going to do? It's going to say, there we go. It's going to finish off that code block. Now let's go ahead and let's do this. We can go ahead and say cargo run. And now it's going to go ahead and it's going to build that out. Now, a couple other things that are interesting to point out here is that if I go over to another project I've got set up here, what I'm going to do is look at a make file inside of here. And notice one of the things that I like to do is I like to do formatting. So if we go through here, one of the things that is nice about cargo format is that it will actually clean things up for me. So if we go back into this environment and I type in cargo format, notice how it actually cleans it up. So really the combination of asking for the correct thing to build, so this is setting the prompt, then guiding it step by step, and then going through here and running it, so going cargo run, and then doing a format, you're really getting the best of all of the AI pair programming components along with the benefits of the compiler. So let's go ahead and do one last thing here, which is extend it. So if I go ahead and I say create a subtraction function, so it's pretty smart here, knows what I want to do. We can go ahead and we can put this out, and it's going to give us this in bracket, perfect. And then finally, we can actually go through here, and we can put the second result, and we can say here, we can do let a result 2, and we can change this to result 2. And let's go ahead and do cargo formats. Now let's do cargo run. And here we go. We got -1 and we've got 5. So I think this is really one of the ways to leverage a pair programming environment is in some cases pick the exact deploy target. In this case, Cloud9, because it's running Amazon Linux. Go ahead and ask for the suggestions, go through and run your compiler, but then also use the pair programming tool to actually really create a feedback loop to get the best possible results.